Hi Debbie, I'm going to show you how to make turkey gravy. So here's the turkey we just took out of the pan. There's the drippings that are left. If you've already taken your drippings and put them somewhere else, you can just take them from wherever you saved them and put them in a pan to heat up. So the first thing I'm going to do is dump these drippings into my saucepan. Now, in any case, it doesn't matter what size of a pan you make your gravy in, but in this case, I have more drippings than what will fit in this pan, so I'm going to switch to a larger pan because I'm going to have to add more to this pan. You can see how full it is now. So get the rest of that stuff out of there. There we go. Set this aside, and I'll stop for a second while we magically change this to a new pan. Okay. Actually, before we switch to a new pan, while this is in a smaller pan, I'm going to take some of just the fat off the top. So, if you see in there, you can see there's about 3/4 of an inch of just clear fat on the top. So I'm just going to go in there and take just the fat off the top, something of what I can easily get. And it won't change the flavor of the gravy at all. I'll leave enough fat in there that the texture will be right. But you just don't need that much in there. And if it's hard for you to tell what is the fat and what's not the fat, then the easiest way is to put it in a container and put it in the fridge and let the fat solidify on the top, and then you can take it out. But if you're making gravy the same day that you're cooking the bird, this is probably the easiest way to do it. So now you can see that I've taken off, because it's all just pure yellow, you can see that's all just fat right off the top of that. And most of what's left is just the juices and stuff from the turkey that I want to turn into gravy. So I'm going to put that in my larger pot. Now I turn my burner on high because in this type of gravy you just want this boiling, and the hotter the better. So as this heats up, I'll kind of whisk it to break up whatever clumps are in there, and just kind of break it up till I have a smooth broth. Don't worry too much about it, because as you add your flour and water, you'll continue to do this and it'll be perfect. So now I put 1 cup of flour in this bowl. It's a bowl that's big enough that I can whisk into it, and I'm going to add 2 cups of water to it, just cold water. Cold is important. So now I'm going to use the same whisk that I was using in the broth. Just kind of whisk this up. And don't worry too much about this having little lumps in it, because when I pour this into the gravy, I'll pour it through a sieve that'll catch any small lumps. But you want to just stir it around till it's as smooth as you can get it. You can do this while you're waiting for the broth to start boiling. You can kind of see what it looks like. And because we want to thicken a lot of broth, you can see that it's not thick like a batter, but it is has a little body to it. And this will be the thickening agent for the gravy. So there, that's ready to go. So I'm just going to set it here and wait for our gravy to start boiling.
Wait.
Okay. So now you can see that our broth or juice from the turkey is starting to boil. So I've already used a spoon to get a little bit of it and to taste it, because now is the time that should start to taste about like it should taste fairly strong, like a good strong gravy. You might decide that you need to add a pinch of salt or maybe a grind of pepper. But it's pretty much, that's the flavor you're going to get from the finished product. So now I'm going to re-whisk my roux just a bit. And I've forgotten my sieve. So just pour that straight in, just like so. Okay, now we'll set this down and set the strainer right into it. So, and now you can already see that gravy starting to thicken up. And you won't know until it reaches a boil and boils for about a minute how thick it's going to be. But I can already tell that I'm going to need to add a little water to this. It's going to be thicker than I want. And so the way I normally do that is I just put the water in the same bowl that I made the roux in, or cold water. And I'll bring this back over here, and when I want to add that to it, I'll just pour it through the sieve again. You can see it's starting to boil, and you'll know how thick you want your gravy just by what you like. You can make it thicker or thinner as you like it. If you turn out make it too thin, just mix a little bit of more flour and water together and thicken it back up. So I'm going to take this cold water. And I can tell that that's pretty much the thickness that I want. And like I say, it only has to cook for about a minute to cook the flour. And so once you've had it boiling for a minute, it doesn't need to be a rolling boil either. It can just be a little boil like this is fine to cook your gravy. Now, once it starts to boil a little harder, I'm going to turn this down because I don't want it to burn, because it'll actually burn pretty easily at this point. So that's it. Once you get it, you do your final tasting, you can, or your final thickening, you can add a little bit more water or broth to thin it down, or add a little more flour if you want to thicken it up. Always mix your flour with water if you're going to put it in here.
Cold water.
Cold water, yes.
And always cook it for, I think you have to cook it for 2 minutes to cook the flour taste out.
So, I think it's cooked enough for me to taste it, make sure my seasonings are correct. So I'm going to grab just a little bit, and you see how it sticks to the spoon like that? That's what you want right there. Okay. Well, that's very good. So, there you go. Turkey gravy, just that easy.